Hello, fellow photographers. Today we're going to be talking about scanning in images and how to do it. Okay, so jumping right in, we're going to talk to a picture that's already been printed. This is of me when I was probably, 6 or 7. So we're going to go ahead and scan this in just by putting it face down on a flatbed scanner. And then we're going to look at the settings. First, we're going to come over here and we're going to click preview and let the scanner pull up a quick scan of it to show us what the bed's going to look like. Okay, so now that we have the image, we're going to click this auto select. It does a pretty good job, but I'm going to pull it up a little bit higher. And then when we come over here and we look at resolution. Okay, so the resolution next to it's got DPI listed. That means dots per inch. Most printers are going to print at 300 DPI. That's 300 dots per square inch. So if we scan this in at 300 DPI, then this image, this 4x5 picture that we have, will be printable at 4x5 inches. But what if I want to print it bigger? That's when you change your resolution. If we come down here to 600, that will now double it. That means this 4x5 will now be able to print it by 8x10. Now, let's take this to the largest option, which is 128,000. Now, this scanner will not scan that. So let's press scan. It's going to come up with an error saying that's too large. So that's too large of an area to scan at that many dots per inch. Also, I don't think the scanner is capable of that high of a number. I think its highest is 64, if I'm not mistaken. But let's try that and see what it comes up with. I think it's still probably too big. Now let's bring it down again, one at a time until we get somewhere that works. See, now it's just saying when you scan at a high resolution, the image may take a long time to scan. I'm okay with that. So we're going to go ahead and continue. Okay, so I had to lower the resolution again while it was going because it errored out because my computer didn't have enough memory to scan this at the time. It's the downside about using a laptop and screen recording at the same time. But lowered it down so we can kind of get an idea of it. So now let's move on to the next one. So now we're going to be scanning in film. So we're going to remove the white backing of the scanner. And we're going to start here with a positive instead of a negative. So this is of my grandfather when he was in Korea. This image, the reason I chose it is because I'm not sure if it's color or black and white, but it is old and it is turned red. So when we go to take these into Photoshop and look at them, we'll do a little color correction and get this one fixed. So we're going to set this one in the middle. And then we're going to change here the document type to film. It's on positive film right now. So now we're going to preview it. So its default there was to take it to thumbnail. I don't want to do that because I don't want it to crop it for me. So we're going to select this area ourselves. And we're going to select just past the picture, get a little bit of the background in there. And then we're going to raise the DPI again. I'm going to try 64 again. Just because this is a smaller image, so maybe it'll work a little better for us, who knows. Let's go ahead and click. Yeah, let's click dust removal also. And let's go ahead and scan it. Okay, so now that that one's scanned in, let's move on over to this positive here that I took when I was in college. I get a little bit of the dust off. Put it down there in the middle. And then let's preview this one. All right, we're going to pull the marquee down a little. And then we'll scan this one in. Okay, so now that the positives are done, let's get that one out. And we're going to scan in a color negative here. Put that in there. Alright, so let's change the film type here to color negative. And then preview it. Alright, so now we're going to select this image here. Looks like it's of me, my mom, and my sister. Let's go ahead and scan that one in. Alright, so now that we have these 4 images scanned in, I'm going to move somewhere that's a little more comfortable to sit down and reset up, and we'll continue working. Okay, so we have these images pulled up in Bridge. We're going to open up the first one now in Photoshop. Okay, so looking at here in Photoshop, first thing we're going to do is change the image size. And we're also going to create an action so we can immediately do this with the next 4. So what we're going to do, we're going to image size. We're going to set it not to resample, and we're going to change this to 300. So if you look at it, originally it was a 3.473 inches by 4.785, changing it to 300. This picture is now 27 inches wide and 38 inches tall. And this does not change the image size at all. It's only changing how many dots per inch it sees. So now we're going to save this, and we're going to close it just for the action's sake, and we're going to do this with the next 3. Okay, so now that all the image sizes have been changed, first thing we're going to do is crop the image. And go here to crop tool. And we've got it checked to not delete the crop pixels. Slightly crooked, so we're going to adjust that. All right, we have the image. We're going to save it in the same folder as a PSD. And do the same thing with the next 3 images as well. All right, so this image I scanned in backwards. So we're going to flip it by flipping it horizontally. And now we have the image, and we're going to save it as a PSD as well. So now we're going to work on color correction. And we're going to do this non-destructively by using the levels. So we'll start with blue. We'll just bring the edges in on the histogram right to the spots where you start to see levels. We'll go ahead and brighten it up a little bit. So now we've got before and after. We'll go ahead and save this as a PSD as well. We no longer need the TIFF images, so we're going to delete them. Not that TIFF is a bad file format to be using, it's just if we're doing any editing, I prefer to keep it in a PSD. So now we're going to come to here to this picture of my grandfather and see what kind of color corrections we can get. So we're going to do the same thing with the adjustments. Go under our levels. We're going to start with blue. And as you see here, there's not a whole lot of color in these histograms. So we're going to bring it all the way down to just the beginning of these foothills. And we'll jump into green. And we'll go into red. And it appears that this was a color image after all. Now it's still got a little bit of red, so we're going to play with the midtones here. Just try to get something a little bit better out of it. Alright, so at this point, part of the image looks good, part of it's still red. So what you can do is we'll create another adjustment layer just in red, and we're going to just play with the midtones here. And then we're going to mask this one off, invert it, grab the paintbrush, make this a little bigger. We're just going to paint in some of the stuff that's a little too red still. And as you can see, some of those edges there look a little harsh. So we're just going to feather it. To where they don't look as harsh. So we're going to go in and continue coloring. Alright, so some of that I don't like, so we're going to grab black, just erase that, give it back some of this natural color. And that's pretty good, quick adjustment of fixing this one. I'm probably at a later point in time going to go through and do a whole lot more to it. But another thing that you're going to want to do is grab your spot healing brush tool. And as you can see, there's a lot of issues in this one that we're going to want to clean up. We've got set to sample all layers. We created a brand new layer, so it's still non-destructive editing. And then you just select your area and let it do its work. So we just clean up a little bit of these areas. And before too long, you'll have a great picture. I'm not going to go through and do all that now. So we're just going to go ahead and save it. And move on to the next one. So that's how you would scan in and work your film. So here we have 4 images. One of them, this one right here, definitely didn't look too good when it was still a positive. But once it's scanned and color corrected, it looks a lot better. It'll look a whole lot better after more work is put into it. But this is just a very beginning introduction of how to work your film. I hope this was informative, and I will see y'all next time.